Communications technology obviously is reshaping every aspect of our society. I believe that this change is overwhelmingly positive, but as last week's hearing on cybersecurity reinforced, this change is not without substantial risk to our national and economic security. Just as harnessing technological innovation is crucial to our economic future, addressing the dangers of a completely interconnected world is just as critical. Cybersecurity is one of the great, are you sure this is my, yeah, that's right. I've got two speeches about cybersecurity, and this is the right one for here. It's one of the great national security challenges that we face. It's the main one that we face. It's going to keep getting bigger. Had an intelligence briefing this morning from all the heads of the Intelligence Committee. They're scared to death of it. Everybody's just sort of taking it for granted. Somebody's going to fix it, and we can't get legislation passed, and we have to. And John Thune and I, and Dianne Feinstein and Saxby Chambliss, and Tom Carper, and Susan Dr. Coburn are all going to work together this time. Three committees working together. I believe that two other areas are absolutely critical for government and industry to come together to addressing pressing needs. First, the construction of a nationwide interoperable public safety network that our first responders are owed and have been given under law. Second, we must make sure that every child in this country is prepared to compete in the global economy, and that means having access to the internet and all innovations deriving from the internet. As most of you have heard me say, the job of being an FCC commissioner is surely one of the hardest, most difficult, perilous jobs in all of Washington. But then again, we just had our caucus lunch with the president, so I'll modify that a little bit. Your actions affect how we communicate what we see on television, the deployment of new technologies and interactive services, making sure that our first responders have the spectrum and communication networks that they need to keep us safe is frankly an incredibly proud achievement for this committee. I think it's a defining piece of legislation for this committee. Congress allocated $7 billion for the construction of this network, which will come from the auction proceeds of spectrum voluntarily, you can spell that if you want, offered by broadcasters, offered up by broadcasters. The agency's incentive auction proceeding is one of the agency's most important undertakings in its history. I know that this is a complicated proceeding effort. Believe me, I know that affects whole industries. But I believe that the auction must be driven by one single principle. It must maximize the resources available for the construction of a nationwide interoperable broadband network for first responders, on which we've already voted. I urge the commissioners to move forward on an aggressive timetable to get the proceeding done. I have no doubt that when we are completed on that, the public safety network will save a whole lot of lives. And I really mean that. It's an area where government and the private sector must continue to work collaboratively to solve the most important public safety issue that we, in fact, face. Just as we are future-proofing our public safety, we must also future-proof our efforts to make sure every child in America has access to cutting-edge technology. Mr. Chairman, I apologize for not starting out by recognizing you, who I have now double inconvenienced. As part of the Telecommunications Act of 1996, Olympia Snow and I created a little-known program called the E-Rate. I thought it was a toy at first, early in the legislation. I believe that this program is incredible. Our little provision helped drive the broadband revolution in this country by exposing a generation of kids to the power of the internet. It's just an unbelievable revolution, unbelievable revolution. The E-Rate program has fundamentally transformed education in this country. We have connected our most remote school areas and libraries to the world. Why libraries? Because adults aren't in elementary school, but they can go to libraries. The E-Rate has enabled school children across this country to participate in the information society. I've seen firsthand the benefits of the E-Rate in my state, which is not a rich state. The impact of the E-rate in our schools has been amazing. More than 92% of classrooms have internet access. You just have to have an understanding of what that means. But then again, I think I remember that when we started California, only 15% of their classrooms had access, which surprised me. Anyway, 92 is good, and we've got to get better. But as impressive and important as this statistic is, basic internet connectivity is not sufficient to meet our 21st century educational needs. I repeat that. It's not sufficient for our future. As every educator knows, digital information and technology will continue to play an increasing role in education, so we need to think about how we are going to meet the broadband infrastructure needs of our schools and libraries. We need to think big about the future of E-rate. Simply put, we need to create E-rate 2. We need to fund and adapt E-rate to meet the needs of a data-driven society. By the end of this decade, I believe that every school in America should have 1 gigabit of connectivity. And if every coffee shop in America can offer wireless connectivity, then by golly, every school in America should be able to offer it as well. We owe this to our children. I end simply by this. Actually, it's more than this. In 1996, everyone dismissed the need for the E-rate. Telecommunications companies took the FCC to court over the program. Many times, they all swore in written letters that they would not take us to court. They all took us to court, and they all lost. It was wonderful. We have 2 decades of proof that the E-rate has worked. It enabled an education revolution. It exposed a generation to the power of information and learning. It literally connected the least among us in the world in a way never before possible. So today I urge the FCC and industry to join us in an effort to make sure that every child in America has a bright future, that every child has access to the transformative power of technology, and I thank you for your courtesy and patience.